the government itself is district attorney's offices never holding anybody accountable for crap.
Welcome to GOA State of the Second podcast. I am John, and today we're joined by Cameron from Devil Dog Concepts, and we're going to open the show like we always open the show, or season 2 now. So Cameron, a little thank you from our sponsor, PSA. Here is an ammo reload, and we'll get that sent out to you. So this is from PSA AAC. They're going to send you some ammo as thank you for being on the show. So again, thank you PSA AAC for being a sponsor of the show, and now you get a cool gift.
That's really nice. I didn't expect that. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's
no
nice.
problem. Well, we appreciate you coming out.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Cameron, go ahead and introduce yourself to the folks.
All right, so I'm Cameron Hillman, President, CEO, Devil Dog Concepts. We have a site charge and handle system for the AR platform. Actually, the inventor of it too. So kind of the all-around, do it all, marketing, everything. Former Marine, obviously, with the Devil Dogs. Former law enforcement, SWAT. So it's kind of who we are, where we came from.
Yeah, and speaking of Marines, you have some awesome coffee. This stuff smells fantastic. Guys, the studio smells great right now. But you have Crayon Eater coffee as well. Check it out. I'm like,
It's hilarious.
Dude, it smells so good.
It's actually amazing. It's all 100% Arabica. It's roasted by a master roaster. He's got 20 plus years. He's one of those super fanatics about roasting, and we got our own little Crayon Eater spin on it. So,
dude, the caramel apple just coffee smells fantastic. There's some great flavors. It's all over the studio right now. We got chocolate raspberry over here, caramel apple. I see caramel blueberry. Check out Crayon Eater coffee. It's great. Now we got to go into our second segment. So this is our rapid fire segment. We're going to do some rapid fires. This segment's brought to you by Blackout Coffee. Check out Blackout Coffee's No Compromise Roast with the GOA No Compromise Roast. Support companies that support GOA. Go check out Blackout Coffee for your GOA No Compromise Roast. So this is our segment where we give you 5 questions, answer them as quickly or as slowly as you'd like.
all right.
They're just random questions to kind of get things going. So, what have you been binge watching lately?
Binge watching? Gee, not really much.
Not much?
Yeah, not much. I usually forget what I'm watching, and I have to go back through the history and it says continue watching. Like, oh yeah, your mind's all over the place.
Oh, I know. I
forget all the time.
Do you think aliens are real?
Well, after some of the reactions to the election, probably. I wouldn't put it out.
Who do you watch the most on YouTube?
YouTube, be Valuetainment. Patrick Bet-David.
Cool. I've never heard of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's entrepreneur. Built an insurance company. Got into the whole entrepreneur educational world, and he just kind of does a whole bunch of free education, entrepreneur stuff, and he's taken away off since with all kinds of stuff. Now, I think he's a minority owner in the Yankees now.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. He did very well for himself.
Well, I'm going to have to go check that out. What is your EDC?
The Glock G42, little 380.
42?
Maybe a little guy.
Maybe the guy. And then last one is, what is your go-to home defense setup?
Go-to home defense? It's still the same one.
Glock 42?
Yeah. Got kids and stuff running around, so I don't keep too much craziness, but there might be a bag or two. Can't give it all away.
No, you can't give it all away. No, I don't blame you. We've asked some people those questions, and they were like, it's a gun. Okay, cool. Thanks. So let's go ahead and jump into Devil Dog Concepts. We've got some of your product laid around the studio here. What do you guys make? What do you guys do? You've got a cool side charger right in front of me, and that's what you're really known for. But what made you get into all this, and just a backstory of the company?
The whole company was an accident. It just kind of happened one day. So got into the Marines when I was younger. When I got out of the Marines, wanted to go get on the job, law enforcement. It seemed a good thing. I was an MP in the Marines, K9. So like, yeah, this is all I know, you know. So I went and did the funny thing in New York. You have to do like a civil service test. I didn't know anything about this stuff. You got to go take a test, get on a list, do this whole thing to get on the job. It's a huge, complicated pain in the butt. But I walked in with a nice little resume, threw it down. I'm like, hey, dude, hire me. He laughed at me. So it took me 1.5 years to get on the job. And like a few years on, I finally got onto SWAT on a team for a while, 5 years or so, and just got freaking sick of that charge and handle. You know, you're running failure drills, you got gloves on, you're slapping yourself in the face. It's just not quick. So I want to come up with something better. And sitting down drawing one day, it hit me like, hey, I think I could fix my issue. And, you know, one thing led to another, and we turned it into a product. And 11 years later, we've got a whole bunch of different options and still going along here. And now retired from the job, so I don't have that to deal with anymore. It's nice. So,
I bet.
yeah. So it's kind of like short and sweet of how it all started, and just got sick of the charging handle.
Well, grab it, show it off. Let's see how this thing.
So simple enough. It's kind of essentially 4 main components. You got receiver mount thing. This is a rod and a handle. They just screw together, so you can swap out different little handles in our charging handle. So the concept was turn it into a side charger without having to machine, modify, or do anything different. Just really swap out your charging handle and get the better ergonomics of a side charging platform. Simple and easy. But it still had to like cover a lot of the main stuff, you know, so that'd be field strippable, you know. The idea is better gross motor skills, better ergonomics of that side charger. Wanted to fix a few things. So it's like when you run an ambi, you can over torque, push it out a little bit and pull yourself off. This thing has a dual support design, so it gets rid of that. So you can't over torque. It actually has a self disengaging system where it'll disengage from the upper receiver. So it gets rid of that fine motor skill. Whether you really realize it or not, you actually have fine motor skills to come down, disengage, and try to grab that little handle. This is just blade along. It'll disengage for you. It doesn't have any over torque. Actually also fix that roll pin issue. Everybody always uses bigger roll pins. What now? When it comes back and it's all the way with all the pressure on it, it takes all that pressure off of the roll pin and actually puts it up into here. So you don't break roll pins anymore. So a whole bunch of little things to fix. Kind of all worked out pretty well. People love it. It's been a great asset, and it's actually found a lot of niches across different markets, you know, not just like law enforcement, tactical operation, like I originally wanted it for, you know, so you can run it off a shield or bilateral, you're switching to the other side, all that gross motor skills, stay focused. That was the whole concept behind it. Like competition shooters, they put it in, they don't have to mess with their gases. It doesn't change any gas issues for their cycling. So they can just go right to that gross motor skills, the better ergonomics. People like handicaps, got injuries, missing a couple digits or something. You know, it's found niches all over the place where a lot of people are really taken to it. Hunters, scopes, optics. It's actually designed to work around optics, like EOTechs. They got their big fat optics.
Yeah.
It's designed the exact same width and all these mounts to work around those optics, so you can blade it one-handed off of anything and not knuckle bust or catch.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Has it found any application with the compliance states, so you can turn it into like a straight pull?
Yep, straight pull. UK's picking up for us. California is actually one of our biggest customer base. They'll turn them into single shots, I guess, essentially, and make it, bolt action version. I don't know. No. So this straight pull variant of an AR. So it's found a lot of applications. PA, actually, with hunting.
Yeah.
Because they all got to go single shot. They can't do semi-automatics in PA. Throw that on there, and there you go. You're running big gloved hands in the cold, and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, the side charger. The straight pull is a concept that I love for a bolt gun, and being able to turn something into a straight pull. That's really cool. What else? You brought a couple of different things. What else do we got laying around here?
Well, we got a few different versions of the side charger. We have our AR-15, which is this guy here. So there's actually 3 different mounts. So when we came up with the system, what we did was we didn't want it to interfere really with your optics and your setup. So we have different mount options. So that receiver mount has different locations. So you really don't have to work if you want to run a backup iron sight and then whatever else in front of it, or just a full optic. It'll work right around it. So the AR-15 version has 3 different mount options. And we have 2 new versions of the AR-15, our Gen 2, as we call them, HCT2, a tactical 2, and a rear 2. So they're designed to work not just with like forged mil-spec uppers, because that was an initial thing. The dual standoff had to work with forged mil-specs because they're all standardized with this dual support design. So we came up with our AR-10 version and this new adjustable tip here. It'll work now on billets. So we have 2 different variants now working on billets. So we've opened up from just forged mil-spec to billets, and things like SFAR, and PSA's KS-47 that doesn't lock open after the last round. We're liking that. You throw it on there, now you can easily rack around real fast when you got to put in a fresh mag. And the AR-10, this was a huge, complicated, like 6-7 year development of multiple different whatevers, because the AR-15 or the AR-10 market is just all over.
What do you mean?
So
what do you mean? Hey, industry, let's standardize the AR-10, please.
Yes.
Thank you. No, when I worked at Faxon, and the amount of people who would call, be like, "Yeah, my AR-10's not working." Well, what do you have? An AR-10. Okay, well, is it DPMS Gen 1, Gen 2? Is it this? Is it Armalite spec? Like,
holy cow!
Can we standardize? Wow. This is your job now. You're going to standardize the AR-10 for everybody.
I wish. If I could, that would be great. Holy cow. It was such a pain to get around it all and to make the product work in the same fashion as the AR-15. So it had to be, field strippable, no tools to mount, had to work across the board, got to be interchangeable from rifle to rifle. It's got to do all the same benefits. It's got to bring all that same stuff to the table. And AR-10 was just all over. So I had to redesign this whole mount system. And I built it inside out backwards. So it'll adjust for different rail slot orientations to the charging handle, different elevation heights of your rail, and then different wall thicknesses of the upper receiver. So it does all 3 adjustments built into this thing for like a multitude of AR-10s.
Because AR-10s are...
Yeah.
Listen, I love the AR-10 platform. I think it's a great platform, but please, can we just pick a pattern and stick to it?
Yeah.
Please.
One of my favorite rifles now.
Yeah.
I tell you, once I had to build it for the AR-10, obviously you got to go buy some. Downside of our business. Got to go buy guns. So, I tell you, shooting that thing, man, first couple rounds, I was like, yep, new favorite gun. This is amazing.
So you did that. We got the sidetrack. What made you get into the coffee?
So we did a couple different things to kind of do branding outside of DDC, because we all know how wonderful it is for us to try to do advertising and get your name out there and do stuff. It's practically impossible. So we did 2 things. We started a apparel company and a coffee company, 2 separate, and it kind of created 2 different channels for us to be able to do additional marketing, bring some other stuff to the table, but we can do paid advertising and other marketing outside of the firearms industry and then backlink it to our main company. So it's kind of a workaround to get.
So you found a workaround to get coffee and shirts. That's
coffee and apparel. Yep.
Yeah.
And it brings more to the table. I mean, the coffee's hilarious. Crayon eaters. Come on.
Oh my God. The amount of Marines I know who would drink this. We joke, I've got a Trey who's Ghost Tactical has been on the show.
Yeah.
And we always mess with him because he's a Marine. So I got to get him some. I'm going to get you some Crayon Eater coffee so you can get yourself all hyped up.
Actually amazing.
But the other one that we like messing with, Kyle from Anderson, is also Marine. So we mess with him. You met Kyle. Yeah. So we mess with him. He's fantastic. But yeah, the coffee guys, when I say it smells fantastic, it smells fantastic. I can't wait to drink. I need to drink some of this stuff. I've got some at home that you gave me when we saw each other last. My wife's really excited. She's like, she's like, where did this coffee come from? I'm like, oh, I got it at this event. And she's like, it's caramel apple. I'm like, yeah. She's like, this is going to taste amazing. I'm like, I hope so. We're going to make it. It smells great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so coffee is one of those things. Everyone's getting into coffee, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's not like we're making a main business. It supplements Devil Dog Concepts. It all works together. It's something we can offer, because obviously you sell some charging handles to people. I want to keep a recurring customer base and, get our brand out there some more. It supplements it. Along with the shirts, everybody likes shirts.
What's the shirt company?
Precision Custom Apparel. So we're just going to do shirts in-house for DDC. And then we figured if we can do shirts for us, we can do shirts for other people. So it's something we offer to like our dealers, vendors of ours. If they want to do some branding for themselves or something, we can do custom stuff. And we actually do it for, businesses around our local area. So.
Now, if somebody, before we move on, the charging handles, if somebody wants to get them, I know you guys are in Optics Planet. Where else can people get them besides Optics Planet? You guys directly?
DevilDogConcepts.com. Yeah, and we have quite a few dealers out there, e-commerce, and always trying to get more in brick and mortar. It's always one of those things that are kind of hard for us to get into because I worked on a job for years until I recently retired, and it's just like trying to find all the time to fit it all in and be there with the family.
Yeah.
You really got to have a good supporting wife at home.
Oh, I know. Trust me, my wife, I travel so much. She's a saint.
Yeah.
She listens, so you're a saint, honey. But the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, you guys, we were talking downstairs about goals. I believe your first convention you guys have done.
First one like that. We did NRA years ago. It wasn't like this though, because what goals did different was the media thing. And they just set that off because what we've always had the hardest time is really getting out there. Like with Ben down there, I've known Ben for years back when he was doing the Instagram stuff. And that's how we were trying to get out there. And, you think you get a great product, you got a great product, throw it out there. Nobody sees it. Nobody cares. It doesn't go anywhere. So you got to figure out how this content works, how it all works. It's just this long process. And then when talking with Tom from Optics Planet there, said we got to go do this media thing with you guys at Goals. It's like, oh, this is how it works. I get it. So now it's all, let's go, meet people, build the network, get out there. Thank God I can do it now that I'm retired. So it was just amazing for us. What it really turned everything around. We had a real tough time earlier this year because our social media got hacked. Our business bank accounts got hacked. Everything got wiped.
Oh, God.
It was insane. It was like 2 weeks after I retired from the PD. So everything got taken over. Then social media, we found out, was like a vast majority of our sales. That's where it all came from. So now what do? We can't get any sales. We have our email list. It was everybody that's already bought from us. And how many are they really going to buy?
Yeah.
So, email is good. Always trying to get more. But to get more emails, you use social media. And now we didn't have that channel. So it was like crap. We ended up having to figure out how to do it to get a hold of Facebook after they tell you, we're investigating or doing whatever, it doesn't go anywhere because you can't get a hold of anybody. So I ended up getting a hold of my guy that does our website. He put me onto a company that ended up, you got to pay a little bit, but I paid. They turned me on to what local congressmen can do. They have these guys, and he turned me on to 2 people in different states that figured out how to get somebody from Facebook. So I ended up getting set up with our local assemblyman. He's a former Marine and retired police chief up in our area. So he's like, you got to get our local congressman. Went over there. Our congressman's guy, I hooked him up with the other congressman's guys, who now he then got all the Meta contact information. And then it was like instantaneous after that. Everything I needed fixed and taken care of at any time. So it's creating the network. It's a huge, complicated pain in the butt, but it's possible. So we got it all back and finally got back up and running. But also a big eye opener. We needed to increase our social media presence on a whole different platform, which a whole lot more time in a day.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing, we talk about this and we know that social media is the devil we know and the devil we have to fight with, especially with Meta. And we're seeing, some other alternative platforms pop up like Truth and Rumble and all that, and there's some growth going on right there. But it's one of those things where you have to get that social media presence known and out there and get it in people's hands and things, and it costs money to get it all figured out. But once you get into it and then people start picking it up, I mean, you guys, we got mixed reviews about Media Day. A lot of people loved it, though. It was a big hit for companies.
Huge for me. Like, I can't go get those guys together in one shot. And you know how much it takes or how much effort it is for me to just get a hold of them in the first place? Some of those guys, they'll never pick up the phone for me. They don't know me. They got the big companies calling them. Like, here, show my stuff off. So like what it did for me, it really opened the door, and it brought eyes and awareness to my product. That was huge. So bringing eyes and awareness to my product, just that it exists, people just have to see it. And once they get it in their hands, that's it. And everybody says it over and over again. Once they get it, it's that. That's why we have like 98 point whatever percent of 5-star reviews. Everybody loves it. And then, we came out with a new folding handle. I realized how many people had this product. Like, there's people that own way more charging handles than I do. Like, way more side chargers. All of a sudden, everybody's buying all these folding handles. I'm like, holy crap, just wipe me out. I'm scrambling to get more production in. It's like, holy God. It's impressive. It's really humbling too. Like, people love it that much. They put it on all their guns. And really, the accident of building this product was like, you really only need one. They don't buy just one.
They buy multiple.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So with that Media Day, were you able to get some of the people that you didn't think you could get?
There was people that, I don't have a lot of time to go through media and learn who's who and whatnot. So it was an eye-opener that I really need to do that more. And those people that were walking by that didn't know me, just saw me there, saw our product, they probably wouldn't even have answered my email in the first place. So it really was, it was big for us to kind of just open that door to what we weren't able to do on our own before. Like, we were just doing local law enforcement type shows, working all the time on a job, can't go travel around. Plus, I didn't have the network. I don't know anybody. I came from absolutely nothing. This thing started out of thin air with me not even knowing like what to do at all. It was all about back against the wall, getting in the grind, reading as much books as you can, watching all the YouTube entrepreneur channels like Valuetainment, John from Rainier Arms. I was always watching his stuff, ended up becoming buddies with John, talking to him. We ended up bringing out a product together. Got a patented, 3 patents on this thing. We did it together with another company, American Resistance Gear, to develop a new version of an armor's tool where I took the barrel nut, put it in the center, so you have opposing grips where you get equal pressure applied on both sides and centrifugal force, which is a whole lot more torque. Seems insane.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah. And we added all the other little stuff, including a bottle opener. You got to have a bottle.
Oh, you got to have a bottle opener.
And even the castle nut wrench. Took that, turned it 90 degrees, fattened it, turned it into a spanner wrench.
Yeah, you definitely need a bottle opener when building your AR because your detent spring will fly. And you do need a soda pop afterwards. It's off in space somewhere.
Yeah, I know, right? Thank God I don't do too many of those anymore. So that was a really awesome thing about the industry. Yeah, getting to, watch John, where I started from absolutely nothing, knew nobody, anything, and then all of a sudden one day we're chatting on the phone, and then we're working together, and then we bring out a product together. Like, that was cool.
Yeah, and that was the cool thing about Goals is we had a good mix of, we had the large companies. There was PSA was there, Smith & Wesson and Daniel Defense, and all those guys were there. But we had a really cool mix of like new and upcoming brands and things. When Tom called me, and Tom's been a good friend, I need to get Tom on the show. But when he called me and told me like, hey, I got this guy, Devil Dog Concepts, he wants to come to Goals. I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's get it done. And then you and I talked and we got you in, and that's something I guess you can attest to it for, the show is, it's our first convention. It was your chance to get it. But if you could give any advice to any of the small companies that wanted to come to Goals but didn't, what could you give them?
Yeah, I don't know. You got to get there. You got to go to the media, the affiliate thing, influencers, the media. It can literally change your whole business. Obviously you want that concept of it's really hard for you to get, hundreds of thousands of eyes on your product one at a time. Try to grow it organically because it's just not going to work. You got to do that influence, and then you got to get out there and you got to put it in people's hands. Getting everybody to walk by, stopping them. You just got to do it. It's, what I learned from a guy who was a big investor back home. His term was Goyakad, Goykod. Get off your ass, knock on doors. Just go. And it's pretty much it. That's got to be your mentality.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad to see it. And that was our whole goal as well, is to be our goal for goals. But that was our goal, is to get a good mix of companies. And it is an opportunity for smaller companies or companies like yourself who may not have gotten the opportunity to showcase their product at a huge, an established show. But with our show, it was our first year, but it established itself right then and there, and it was able to grow. I know a number of companies who said, "Thank you, I could never do this," or
it just opens your network more. We're here because of it. It just keeps going. So something like that, it builds the relationships and networks, the trust. People get the face-to-face, they get the hands on your product, they get to learn a little bit about you, and it builds that trust. And that's what our industry is. It's a lot of trust and a lot of helping. This industry has been amazing to me ever since the beginning. Even when I was just small and starting out, everybody's been nice. Everybody helps you out. Even if they seem to be in competition with you, it's like they're still helping out, still there, pointing me in the right direction. It seems weird. Tom, what he does, who he works for, it'd be almost like this competition for you to help me grow and get other dealers and sell and do all this stuff. But that's what this industry is. It's like brothers in arms, we're still all Marines together type of thing.
Yeah. And Tom's one of those people that have been fantastic. Met Tom about 2 years ago, a year ago. And, he's been helpful ever since. He's a great people. I've met a ton of great people over the years, we like to call it, I guess we joked about this earlier. It's like the 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but it's the 5 degrees of the gun industry. Somebody who knows 5 people and they know 5 people. And it's cool to see how close and tight knit we get. And that's the thing. Everybody from the outside, everyone's like, you must hate them because they do this. No, we're friends. We're competition. And we help each other out, and a lot of people who come into this industry don't understand that. They don't understand how that we're not all competitors. They view it as normal business. Walmart's never going to be friends with Target. Well, that's not how this industry works. We're all friends because we're all fighting for the same thing, and that's the Second Amendment and growing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Once I figured that out, it's been a reversal of things. Instead of trying to fight on your own, try to do it. It's like you all really work together and you will help each other. It's amazing. I can't believe it. Didn't figure it out years ago, but hey, I'm a Marine. A little slow.
Well, we're at the halfway point and we're going to do our segment from the Soapbox, sponsored by Patriot Mobile. Go to Patriot Mobile and use the code GOA, get you 1 month free. This is a great service, a great mobile company. Go check out Patriot Mobile, get all the information. They run on the same networks as all the big carriers, plus they have different network options depending on where you're at. So if you can't get service with AT&T, they probably have service with Verizon and so on and so forth with the amount of towers they have. So go to Patriot Mobile and get 1 month free with code GOA. And a donation goes back to us. Thank you, Patriot Mobile, for sponsoring the segment. So from the Soapbox was where we talk about things and gripes and ATF and things like that. And good topic for this one. And we talked a little bit about this. You live in the state of New York.
Yes, I do.
And what is it like being a gun owner in the state of New York?
It was not bad for me as a cop. So being a cop in New York, you can pretty much have anything you want, carry wherever you want, and get away with whatever you want. So you're not a cop. So it's, I mean, for the everyday person, it's ridiculous. Like, it makes no sense to me. Like, anybody obviously should be able to carry a gun. Why are you trying to regulate, the gun for the person instead of, let the person be qualified for the gun, not the gun qualified for the person? So that's my whole thing. I've always brought up, like, the industry or the Second Amendment and everybody being able to, own what they want, carry what they want, or just qualify. Like, if everybody was just qualified, we'd have proficiency, safety. It'd be a lot better for law enforcement because, there's a lot of craziness out there for law enforcement. Like, sometimes there's some serious mental health stuff, and this country is in a state of mental health if we haven't seen that recently. Yeah. So, but that's just my one thing with the whole industry that I'd like to see more of. Let's not worry so much about the gun right thing, like the gun, what it rates, it's an inanimate object. Like, let's build the people up and the people qualification. And like, if that could be some kind of universal thing for the whole US, kind of like a driver's license thing, right? I can't drive a CDL, right? I can't drive a big rig because I'm not qualified. Like, everybody should be able to qualify for what they want to qualify for and carry it. And then everybody's safe, proficient, has knowledge, experience, and then you're qualified for it. Why are you registering a gun? It makes no sense.
Yeah, and that's the big thing with New York. So your experience came straight from the military into law enforcement, and so your experience in New York is you can have, because you're an officer, you can have whatever you wanted.
Pretty much.
And now that you're retired, has that changed and opened your eyes a little bit to some of the stuff?
It makes it a little more difficult to get things. So, at this point, I got to get my FFL. But, yeah, even before, we never really focused on trying to sell locally or do any of that stuff. And it hinders our growth. We can't really do a storefront, sell ARs. Product is mainly ARs, and not many people really want to buy all the weird New York compliant crap. So, it hinders us, but, now I don't really know how it's going to affect me. I'm just recently retired, so I haven't come across anything that's going to bite me just yet. Sure I will.
Yeah, and the New York laws are just so draconian and restrictive. You've got, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have to register. You got to get a gun permit.
They have permits for everything now. Like, you can't even get semi-automatic rifles without getting a permit. It's just,
that's insane.
These people that make laws, they have no idea what they're talking about.
It's all coming from,
which is like, if you're going to make a law on something, you should probably be proficient in what you're making a law about. Like, if you're sitting there saying to gun owners that they need to go to these qualifications and do all these certifications, like, before you go do that, you might want to go learn what you're talking about in the first place.
Yeah, and and all this is coming from what, 2 cities
pretty much
in New York. So you got New York City that's pushing a lot of this anti-gun agenda, and I would say probably Buffalo,
Albany, Syracuse.
And a lot of people look at New York and I guess they kind of forget. And our good friend Rachel from Night Vision is in New York, and she talked on this a little bit when she was on. But a lot of people think New York, and they think New York City, and that even Buffalo doesn't get that, like, kind of like, oh, they're in New York because it's the east side of the state. But most of New York is rural, rural farm,
huge farms.
Yeah,
dairy farms, huge farms, big country. Everybody's very redneck. Like, the town I grew up on, it was, used to always joke everybody's driving their tractors into school, and like, it's very redneck up there. We are back hill countries. I grew up on a little tiny farm with a 1/4 mile long driveway, and we were back hills.
Yeah, and you're in the country, right? You're where you live, and it's just weird that what's it like to be controlled by a city that's what, 200-300 miles away?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of guys in the back hills, they're controlled, but not.
Yeah.
It's a sad state of affairs. That's kind of what everybody just, they don't pay attention to the law, and
It's the same thing. My father grew up in Eastern New York, just outside of Buffalo, and we were talking, and he was talking about buying a new gun. I was like, oh yeah, just go to the store. And he even did. I don't have to go because when he bought all his guns back when he was younger, he was in. Well, it was also he's an old man. Sorry, old guy. It was in New York. And he had to, I had to get my gun permit and this and that. And even my cousins who still live there, one of my cousins big into guns. And we talk about that, but he's like, yeah. I was like, I'm not going to rat him out, but he's like, yeah, you guys have all these mags. He goes, I got those mags. I'm like, what do you mean? You're restricted? No, I got them. You can get them. You just got to know, you just buy them in PA and come back and they're fine. I'm like, oh yeah. He goes, and this is what he told me. I've heard this from a lot of people in New York is I'd rather have the capacity and pay the fine if I need to use it or deal with it than not have it.
Like the old adage we had in the Marines, said, better be tried by 12 than carried by 6.
Yeah. Oh. And that's sad. And we hear it from all the restrictive states like New York and Washington and California that all of them feel the same way. We had the Freedom Week in California a couple of years ago, but it's the same thing as these restrictions are put on by these anti-gun politicians and they don't even know what they're talking about.
They don't have a clue. But at least we get them back a little bit. Where we're located, our building, our office, it's literally in the same building as the Democrat headquarters. So you walk into our front door, you got 2 choices in life. You can go right or you can go left. Left is the Democrats, right is us. They were not happy about us moving in.
Oh, I don't believe it.
No. Yeah, they moved in. We moved in. It was within like the first month or something. I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was shortly around like when Trump got elected the first time. So we go Trump pictures up, got a flag up. They come in for a meeting and like a bunch of children, they lined the walls all along inside their office and were just kicking the walls and yelling. And they had to have the owner of the building come down and ask me to move the pictures out back because the Trump picture was up.
Really?
Yeah. Children.
Just threw a temper tantrum?
Yep, temper tantrum. Screaming, yelling, kicking the walls until the owner of the building would come down and have us move a Trump picture out back.
Because, so you hit, instead of yelling at them for causing the issue, he asked you to remove the picture?
Yeah.
That's insane. You're not allowed to your First Amendment right?
It's insane, right?
Well, and that's oh God. That could get me into a great point. Like, we see this all the time. We did, I didn't get to go, but our campus, when I graduated college, we had I went to Kent State in Ohio. That's where I went to school. And there was a rule since the property was owned, since the state owns the campus, that if you were on campus going to an event on campus, or if you were a student, like if I was on campus as a student or going to an event on campus, I wasn't allowed to carry. If I was a person who is not going to any event on campus, just walking through campus, I was legally allowed to carry, which is such a dumb rule because if as a student, I wasn't allowed to carry, but if I was a non-student, like right now, I could go back to where I went to college as a non-student, not going to any events on campus. I could legally carry a gun on campus. So they did a group did a protest on campus just to prove how dumb it was. So they did a protest walk, and the amount of people who freaked out over it. And it's like, what? This is
You don't even
safety.
know.
Like, and they claim these blue lights are going to protect us and all this other stuff. I'm like, no, it don't work. And we saw this with
a career of it. That's why we do the investigation afterwards.
Yeah. And we saw this with Liberty University. Liberty went full campus carry, and they saw all their crime rate go down.
Mm-hmm.
And we see this in a lot of places where they go pro gun or pro gun legislation, and the crime rate drops, and they're like, "Whoa, violent crime's going to go
up." You don't
up.
ever hear them talking about, what is it, Kennesaw, Georgia, or something like that? You don't ever hear that?
No, you don't hear.
Lowest crime rate. Everybody's required to carry a gun or have a gun.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
then you go into the cities where everybody's taking all their guns away with these stupid laws, but you don't hold anybody accountable. That's like my biggest complaint of the government itself is district attorney's offices never holding anybody accountable for crap. I put away so many people. I put them away for like rape first. 6-month pregnant lady beat her head in with a frying pan, raped her. They drop it down to a freaking assault 3 misdemeanor. That's what they do. They pad their numbers to make it look like they're winning all these cases, but they're dropping them. I've personally had cases where they're refusing to fight them.
Well, and I've seen that. I've talked to domestic violence victims, and a good friend of mine, she was telling me her story again, or I heard her story again, and it's insane how they told her, "Do you have a place to hide?" She's like, "Well, what do you mean? You got him arrested. He's arrested. He should be going to jail." Well, he's getting out.
Yeah, and you're going to get a piece of paper that's going to protect you.
Yeah, the piece of paper is so protected, and that's and she started. You know, we have our Empowered 2A group, which is our women's group, and we're seeing women gun ownership go through the roof just because they don't have faith in the legal system.
Don't blame them at all. It does. The cops put them all away.
Yeah,
doing everything you can. They're all busting their butt, putting themselves out there. But obviously, you're there after the fact. So, like, 911 call still takes a while to get there. We've all seen the dispatch logs, and there's a while between them all before we even get called out when the phone call comes in. And by the time you're making a phone call, something's already going down. Like, you should be trained to handle it.
Yeah, I mean, what's the U.S. average response time is what, 5 to 8 minutes?
I would say depending on location too. Yeah. You know, you got the rural areas out in the counties, you know, that can take a while. You know, where we were, it was pretty fast. That was always nice, at least for us. We're in the middle of something. Our backup is pretty quick.
Well, and we're seeing this all across the country where law enforcement has their hands tied around their back. There's crimes being committed in front of them they can't even do anything about in some of the major cities.
Maybe the major cities. We didn't really have that issue. Our biggest thing was like the bail reform, stuff like that. Like, we put them away. And if it's not some violent thing on this checklist of whatever it has to meet these parameter laws, they'll get arraigned and they're right out. And, you know, maybe if they're in for like a month on some violent thing, they're just going to kick them out after a month anyway on what they call pre-trial release and give them a little ankle monitor. And then the violent criminal's back out on the street. It doesn't really matter. It's just, they're always just back out. They don't even care. They think it's like a few days off the street so they can get a place to sleep and some free meals. And then they're going to go back out to doing what they're doing. You should see some of these rap sheets. Insane. They're never held accountable. And if the DA's office would hold people accountable for the laws that legislation wants to create, like, just hold them accountable. If you held people accountable for their actions, they're probably not likely to do it again.
Yeah. Well, what's the old saying? 3 hots in a cot?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Give them 3 hots in a cot and they're there for a couple and then they're out again and doing it all over again.
Mm-hmm. And then where we're at, they'll just give them all their methadone and all their drugs. And then they have all government paid like agencies where they give them all their supplies for their drugs. Now they're trying to give them like safe spaces to go do their drugs. They walk in and they get it all for free.
That's insane.
And then everything's paid for. Everything's paid for. I've dealt with people where we'll arrest them, give them appearance tickets for dumb stuff or whatever, and they're like, it doesn't matter. Government's paying for my fine anyway.
And that blows my mind. And we see this
voters.
Yeah. Well, that's the big thing. We see this every election cycle. We see the guns get brought up. We just went through the election a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But we get this brought up every time, and everyone's like, well, gun violence is crazy in America and this and that. And then you go, okay, well, if we were to take away LA, Chicago, New York, and I think one other of the major cities, we drop to 178th. We're lowest gun violence in the world. It's insane that these, and they're all the strictest gun laws too, which is even more insane.
Yeah. But they don't hold anybody accountable. It's if you held people accountable for their actions, you could loosen the laws and people would not be breaking it. Like if they were just held accountable.
Well, and that's the same thing. We talk about this with gun laws. They keep coming up with new gun laws or gun control and this and that.
It's going to change something.
If you just enforce the laws that are on the books.
Got nothing to do with the gun.
Yeah.
You know, not a thing to do with the gun. It's got to do with the person.
Well, and that brings...
Hold the person accountable, their actions, you know, the mental health stuff. Back where I'm at, they literally shut down the psych wards and put them out on the street. And then government paid for them to have all these little housings or whatever. It's like mutants walking around. They're just, what the heck? They're all meth. And then they're all getting free drug stuff and they're all meth out on the street. And it's just chaos. That's what they're doing.
I don't understand why they can't just go in and just fix the issues that they're. Then that's the big thing, and that goes into kind of what we're talking about with GOA, and you know we don't get it often, but we've got the House, the Senate, the presidency, all this stuff, and people are like, "Well, cool, we won, we're good." We're good for 4 years. And then I'm like, no, now is the time to go call them.
Yeah. You got 1 year before you got to really start turning things around before midterms.
Yeah.
You better.
That's really it. And the people I don't think that concept has, I don't know if it's just the conservatives as a whole were very, very like, we want to be left alone.
Yeah.
But now is the time to grow that grassroots effort and just push. Like you can't, you know, and I said this on election night. We were doing I was with some friends doing some live streaming stuff, and I said it on election night, and I'm not going to stop saying it, this is a victory. It's not, it's a battle we won. This is not the war.
Yeah.
The war is not over.
It never will be.
It never will be. Yeah.
They're massive narcissist, cluster B, borderline personalities. That split personality disorder of the whole liberal left is just, you know, you ever deal with somebody like that with that split personality where they determine you to be bad, you can no longer do anything that's right. It doesn't matter to them now what, like if Trump does something that's really good for the people, to them it's still bad. It doesn't matter what you do, you're all bad. And they'll never back down. They'll never figure it out. They'll never like have rational thought process.
Well, I saw a political cartoon the other day, and people were like, "What happened to the middle?" Well, the middle got pushed. They were like and I grew up in the '90s, and you probably know the same thing experience. But the middle was like, well, I agree a little bit with this side, I agree a little bit with this side, and they've got good talking points. But if you agree anything with the conservative side, the left just starts screwing. No. Yeah. And they're wondering why
that's the mental health crisis.
Yes. Yeah. Like, and you're seeing like the middle, and we saw like independent voters move more than they've ever moved. And it's crazy because people are just getting pushed for believing anything that doesn't agree with the one side.
Yeah,
and we never had that. We can't have a personable conversation anymore with anybody either. You try to have a political talk. Any little political talk always turns into a screaming match for no reason. It could
exactly. That's like always just the only way I can put it back is that it's that cluster B borderline personality mentality where it goes everything's on you as the bad guy, and they constantly go in this cycle of perpetrator to victim, and that's what they are. And it's just that massive narcissistic split personality, borderline personality, just, you see it out on the street, like massive domestic issues. You always have that one that's just that super controlling, it's my way or reap it. It's not even My Way or the highway. It's My Way or Reap It. And then it's because they won't allow you to take the highway. They still have to have that control. And it's like literally what you see anymore. There's such a massive mental health crisis out there.
Yeah.
It's scary to watch. Like, it doesn't get better. They don't know how to back off and just think rationally.
If we could just fix, you look at it, and I'm getting the wrap up thing. So I'm going to go on one more tangent, and then we'll wrap this up.
Sure.
I mean, just look at how much things have changed, and mental health this country had big mental, there was places to go for years.
Now they go out on the street and they do social media and they all connect with each other.
And then they drug you up or it's insane. Sure. And I'm hoping we got to figure out how to fix these problems. And the way to fix problems, both there and with gun rights and everything like that, is contact your senator, contact your congressman, get in the grassroots effort, go voice your opinion. And like I said, like you said, we have a year. It's not 2 years, because they're starting to go into election
1 year
mode
to make something happen, because after a year, you're going to start midterm elections. They're going to start campaigning. If you have nothing to campaign on that you didn't do in the previous year, what are you going to campaign on? And then it's just going to get turned back over, because the media, the narrative, the programming, they're just going to be doing that.
Yeah, and we've said this multiple times. I'm going to say it again. GOA has a spot on our website where you can contact your congressman and senator. Let yourself be heard. It takes 30 seconds. 30 seconds of your time to do that. You could microwave a burrito in more time than it takes to contact your senator and congressman.
Yeah,
but you got to do it. You just got to let your voice know. And they know. They take tally of how many people are letting their voice know. They serve a lot of people. I don't think people understand this. They are elected. They serve us. We don't serve them. So let your voice know that they need to serve you. And on that note, we're going to wrap up. Cameron, where can they find you? Where can people find you guys and all that other stuff?
DevilDogConcepts.com. We got Facebook, Devil Dog Concepts. I got a couple personal ones on Instagram and Facebook. Little Side Charger CEO. It's adorable. About this many followers. So Instagram, X, we're on there. Truth, pretty much all the main ones. Rumble, YouTube. So anything we can do to help grow our awareness of our product and kind of who we are, always appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you being on, guys. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell for notification. Make sure to follow and leave 5-star reviews on all podcasting hosts, and we will catch you on the next one.